Hi, I'm Christopher, and I'm a product owner at Extra Horizon. Thanks for joining these Extra Horizon 101 explainer videos, in which we introduce the different features and concepts of the Extra Horizon Medical Backend as a Service. In today's episode, we'll talk about data. Extra Horizon offers two services that handle data: the file service for object storage and the data service for structured documents. Today we will discuss the basics of how to use the data service for storing structured documents. In this video we will cover three things. First, how to create a schema that defines the type of data that you want to store. Secondly, we'll look how you can use the Extra Horizon CLI to upload your schema into an Extra Horizon environment. And lastly, we will discuss how you can create, update, and delete documents in a schema. Let's get started. Alright, so the first step is to create a data schema. On my screen, you can see an example of such a schema. So let's say that we want to create a schema for a home measurement device or a home monitoring device. So I created a schema here. It's called Vitals Measurement. I gave it a description, so it stores all the measurements from the home monitoring device. And then I'm going to define the properties of the schema. So the properties of the schema are the type of values that we want to store for each record. Let's say my home monitoring device can store the body temperature, which is a number. I can give it a description, give it some minimum and maximum values, and similar for other vitals. So I added heart rate, diastolic pressure, systolic pressure, and then a device ID that identifies the home monitoring device. And I can optionally add a comment. So a simple comment here. If you look at this properties object, it adheres to the JSON schema specification. So if you know JSON schema, then it's very easy and straightforward to create a simple schema, actually. What else do we have to define a schema? We have statuses and transitions. So in this basic explainer video, we won't go into too much detail about statuses and transitions, but essentially what you can do is you can attach a status to each record in your schema, and you can define transitions and you can define conditions on those transitions. But more on that later. And then linked to the statuses and transitions, we have a creation transition, and this part of our schema definition will define in which status a newly created record will be. So this is an example of a very simple schema. Now let's see how we can synchronize the schema with an Extra Horizon environment. You can do this all through the API, so all the API calls are available, but there's a very easy way to synchronize a schema if you have it in a JSON file, and that is using the Extra Horizon CLI. So when you have the Extra Horizon CLI installed and configured, it's nothing more than exh data schemas sync, and then I still need to give it a directory, of course, dir schemas. And so now it will synchronize all the schemas that are in my schemas folder, which is right now just a single one. So that was it. Now we have defined our schema. We synchronized the schema with an Extra Horizon environment. And now the next step is to create and update documents. So there are two methods to handle data in the data service. The first method is by directly using the API, and the second method is by using the Extra Horizon JavaScript SDK. I will quickly show you both methods. So on my screen you can see Postman running, which is a small tool to perform API calls. And here I already have the API call in front of me to get the data schemas. And so instead of just showing all the data schemas, I'm directly going to query for the one we added previously. So I can see the schema is configured with our properties and some default indexes that the system directly sets. I can take a look which documents already are in the database, which is none. And I can look into the documents related to my schema by adding the schema name / documents in the API call. So let's now create a measurement. We can do that by performing a post request on vitals measurement / documents. I'll add a measurement with a body temperature 37, heart rate 60, and a systolic and diastolic pressure. So now the document has been created. I can see the data here, update timestamp, creation timestamp. And when I return to my list of documents, it shows up here as well. Let's say I want to update a measurement. I can use a put request for that. Let's say that the body temperature was not 37 but 38. Then I'm going to copy the ID here, add the ID to the put request, and let's only change the temperature here to, let's make it 40, a little bit feverish. It will return the number of affected records. And when I look in the document list, it will show the change document. Deleting a document through the API is a simple delete request. I copy the ID and it will again show the affected records. And again, no documents in the database. So that's how you can do it using the API. We also have a very extensive JavaScript SDK to modify the database using a script or directly in an application. So let me pull up my editor here. I already added some boilerplate code. So I imported the JavaScript SDK. I created a client with all the necessary keys. And then in my main function, I will first authenticate against the API. I will pull in my schema. And then I'm going to create a document. So await SDK client .data.documents create. Then I need to give it a schema ID, and then in the body I can add body temperature 38, heart rate 120, like this, and let's add a systolic and diastolic pressure as well. Like this, and then let's run the script. Done. So it was successfully created, and let's take a look in our documents, and as you can see here, the document was created. So actually everything what you do with the API can also be done using the JavaScript SDK in a script. This was just a quick glimpse on how to get started with a data service for storing structured data. In future videos, we will go into more detail on statuses and transitions and on defining permissions on a very granular level. If you have more questions or want to know more about Extra Horizon, make sure to check out our website extrahorizon.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.